I want to take a moment to welcome everybody here to Char's Landing. Yay. And thank you to our Zoom friends. Welcome. We've got a really good crowd today, and we've got some switchovers. We've got guests inside Char's Landing from Gibson's, our Zoom guests. So Kathleen and David are here in-house. Yay. So it's very exciting. So I'm going to turn it over to Karl and Derek for another wonderful evening. And I want to remind everyone to watch the shows on YouTube, to share them with your friends. And I do my best to get it done within a week. So yeah, watch the Facebook page, and so you can find the YouTube link. Okay, have a great night.
Alleged Mermaid, Emcee Derek Hanebury is a Port Alberni writer of poetry, fiction, and creative nonfiction who taught writing here at North Island College for many years. His latest book, Something Else Altogether, is out.
Thank you, Karl, and welcome everybody. How's the sound out there? I didn't do a sound check. I just realized. Is it okay out in Zoom land? That volume all right? Got the thumbs up. And here in house, everybody hear me okay? Yep. All right. Good. So welcome, one and all. Excited to have another round of Electric Mermaid here. This is always the highlight of the month for me. I get out of the RV and actually can, stretch my arms out without hitting a wall. It's wonderful. But our house has a roof on it now, so things are moving ahead. We'll be out of the RV by Christmas, hopefully. So it's all good. Anyway, very excited tonight. We've got a lot of readers lined up, 15 readers altogether. So it's going to be a full evening, and I think we're going to hit a height even higher than last month, which was awesome. So we've got our featured reader in Victoria, and Daniela is down there waiting with her beautiful artwork in the background, and she's going to share some of her work with us soon. But we're going to start off with a couple of open micers first. And before we get started, I just want to say we are zooming to you from Port Alberni on the unceded territory of the Hutchison and Sishat First Nations. And we're grateful for the sharing of their land with us that we're here tonight. And I want to say a big thank you to Char, because this place wouldn't happen without her and all her time and energy. Thank you, Char. This event that carries on in this kind of hybrid format with the Zoom and the live readings, it's wonderful. I think it's built a good community over the last few years, and it continues to grow. And so I'm very grateful for those of you who keep coming online and keep the energy up out there, because it really contributes a lot and adds to the variety and the depth of the evening. Because we got music from Mark Wonneck tonight. We've got music from Dean Lamont in-house. We've got lots of readings coming from all over the place. And oh my goodness, the lights went down. Now I really look like Vincent Price. There we go. It's all good. Okay. All right. So without further ado, we're going to start off the evening with Lesli Omohundro Bronczkowsk, all the way from Germany, joining us in the middle of the night. We are so grateful that you get up and spend this time with us, Lesli, and share your work. We had you as a spotlight last month. It was great to hear a little longer reading. What are you going to share with us tonight?
This is a kind of light story. I just wrote one day after lunch when I was so frustrated with my children.
Awesome.
Who grow now, but this was back then. It's called A Look Down the Drain. This is with my two sons, Hannes Michael and Florian. It's the truth, Mama, says Hannes Michael at lunch. He spoons the hot sauce over his chicken. Kjorven is a troublemaker, but he says, laying the spoon on the tablecloth, he's a foster child. He is, nods Florian. He stuffs another potato into his mouth. That's how come he doesn't know how to act in school. Florian, would you mind eating like a human being? And Hannes Michael, are you planning on washing the tablecloth? I pour myself a glass of water. Where did you get all this information from? I mean about Kjorven. He told us that he doesn't know how to act in school? Mama, that he's a foster child. Those aren't his real parents. Oh, okay, I see. And they don't know how to teach him to act normal in school? They're that bad? Mama, you don't understand. They're not his real parents, okay? They're not his biological parents. Oh, okay. I pushed the water bottle to the middle of the table. Sounds like a lot like Joseph to me. The boys throw each other well-meaning glances. Joseph, Mama? You don't know Joseph from the Bible? Jesus' foster father? Wait, Florian, didn't you play Joseph last Christmas in the play you put on for the parents? You at least should know who Joseph is. Mama, Joseph wasn't Jesus' foster father. No? Are you sure? I've always thought God was Jesus' real father, and Joseph was his foster father. I think for a minute. I think I've got it. That's why Mary and Joseph had so much trouble with him. Remember how he ran away from home and knocked down all those stalls in the temple? That's because he was a foster child. Didn't your teacher tell you that? Mama, says Hannes Michael, don't get mad at me, but sometimes you get on my nerves. Please don't take it personally. Oh, I won't, but I will take this last drop of water here. Could you please get him a new bottle? Geez. You know, I start again, ignoring that last remark. I unscrew the jar of cherries which are planned as dessert. I was friends with a foster child back at the university. Funny, I had almost forgotten about that until you started talking about Kjorven. His flat was the worst pigsty, and he'd get fart in the middle of the lecture and not blink an eye. But he was a nice guy. A nice guy? And you knew him? A foster child? I just said he was a friend of mine, and he really was a nice guy, and smart too. We called him the Fox because he was so smart. I even went on vacation with him. Mama, are you crazy? You went on vacation with a foster child? Where did you go? Was he dangerous? Tell us about him. We went to Munich. And wait a minute, I didn't say I went alone on vacation with a man. We were a whole group, and we decided to drive to Munich during the winter semester break. One of the group had a sister there, and we could stay at her place. Susanna. I remember she was a nurse. However, we were supposed to know that she would get murdered the very first night we were there. What? Murdered? Oh my! Yeah, it was bad. You think you're going on vacation and wind up spending hours in some row house being interrogated by the police. We never did see the Church of Our Lady. Some vacation. Mama, what happened? Was she really dead? Duh, I just said she was murdered. Only not by one of us. But try to tell that to the police. We ate pizza together before bed, and the next morning we found her body in her bed. Somebody had strangled her outside the front door and then dragged her body up the stairs to her bedroom. I swear that was a mess. By the time we'd finished answering all the questions from the police, it was time to go home. And it really wasn't the Fox? Sometimes I get so annoyed at my own son. Of course it wasn't the Fox. Florian, you're worse than the police. Although, I must admit, they at first thought he had done it too. Manfred's father was a doctor, Christian's father was a lawyer, and they figured Susanna's sister and I didn't have the strength to murder somebody and then drag her up the stairs, not even if we'd been working together. So that just left the Fox. I go silent and spit out my cherry seed into a spoon. But if it wasn't the Fox, then who was it? I bet it was. I bet he did it. I bet Kjorven is the same way. You want to bet? I bet he's going to murder somebody someday too. I stare at my son in horror. Excuse me, Florian, but have you completely lost it? Did you listen to anything I said? I never once said that it was the Fox. Are you nuts? I just said that it wasn't the Fox. I just said that the police think that just because someone doesn't have money or parents, somebody who has to work his way through school by working 8 hours a night in a laundry, who doesn't have anyone who bails him out when he's up to his neck in shit, that person is probably the murder of a poor innocent woman. Who cares that he just happens to be the best physics student in his year, head over heels better than those law students and medical students from good backgrounds whose parents hand them the dollar bills without having even to lift a finger? That, my dear Florian, is what I said. And as far as your friend Kjorven is concerned, whoa, Mama, stop. Please tell us the story. And Florian, would you please shut up and listen? Mama, who was the murderer? I drink a whole glass of water. Well, if you must know, it was Susanna's boyfriend, who she was actually engaged to. What was his name? Leon, Leo, something like that. Anyhow, he came in the night, and for whatever reason, she didn't want to let him in the house. Sorry, I can't remember all the details anymore. Mama, please. It was a strange story, especially the way they found the murderer. I remember one of the policemen noticed that the water in the rain drain next to the door wasn't frozen, although the temperature had been way below freezing for days. He figured out if it wasn't frozen, then it couldn't be rainwater. Who pissed in the drain? And that's how they found the murderer. Everybody who had anything to do with Susanna had to give a urine sample, including her boyfriend, and so they got him. I can't really remember what really happened to him, though, if it was murder or manslaughter or whatever. I just know we got out of there and back to Hamburg as quickly as we could. We'd had enough of Munich. Wow, that policeman was really smart. And the fox? Whatever happened to him? Did he go back to Hamburg too? Florian shuddered. I hope not. I drink a long drink of water. The fox? That's a good question. I have to smile. I married him. And that's a true story. We've been married for 42 years.
Excellent. Beautiful. Beautiful. Yeah, that caught us by surprise. Excellent work with the dialogue there. That's so realistic, and the back and forth just felt like such a natural flow of conversation, and it let the story unravel that way. It was beautiful. Nice work. Awesome. Hope you can stay up and join us for a little bit longer, and we're going to have lots going on. Thanks, Leslie.
Thank you.
Awesome. Okay, we're going to have Rachelle Mecca joining us. I'll get it right yet. Rachelle, who was our feature reader last week, is going to give us an open mic for 5 minutes, and then she's got to dash off and do her play rehearsal across the street. So she's a busy woman. She got here late coming from work. I don't know. Nice to be young and be able to do all that. Yeah, we're missing our mic guy tonight. Yeah, it's too bad, but he had to go graduate. Yeah, at North Island College, he was getting his certificate in the Human Service Worker program tonight. So, yeah. Kyle will be back next month. There we go. Rachelle is at the mic.
Oops, very down. There, kind of okay. Okay, and that's my camera there, right?
That's your camera, you bet.
Okay.
Yes, you're looking at it.
Look at everybody, all these pretty faces here.
Yeah. Take it away, Rachelle.
All right.
It's all yours.
Hello. So when I was here last week, I was going to start reading a few poems out of my new poetry book that I've been working on. And, well, I didn't really get there. So this one's called Head in the Clouds. Smell the sun, breathe in the clouds, dance above the earth. When the foggy layer wouldn't pass, we suffered in the bleak gray below. Mission to soar above it commence. Drive up the mountain, watch the clouds dissipate until the ocean of evaporated water flows. The truth I didn't see when they all must think that my head is in the clouds. All right. This one's called Doors of Perception. It really does feel a little high, though. I feel like I'm like trying to look over it. Doors of Perception. There's no poetry when the doors of perception are right in front of me. My eyelids closed, I see far more. When I close my eyes, I close the doors. There's no poetry when the words refuse to flow, forcing the strength of a current through the depths of my mind. The images in front of my eyes are the illusion that keeps me alive, creative, desperate. There's no poetry when I try to force a rhyme. Poor eyesight leads to more insight some time before hindsight revealed to a lore to write about a door filtering in the light. There's no poetry when the trees line the long road. There's no poetry when cars are rushing past me. There's no poetry when fences are lined with wood, insinuating privacy when in fact we can always see through. Where's the poetry in that? Perfectly lined holes, gaps in between the boards so I can see your whole yard. There's not much more to say about it, is there? There's no poetry in the dense fog that covers the road, beams of spirits drifting through the hazy night air, bursting into the seams of my car door, sending shivers down my spine as I attempt to drive by and on the way home, hoping not to crash into an angel and arrive safely at my door, the door to perception. I'm going to skip that one because it's actually kind of a song and I'm too shy at this moment to sing. All right, this one's called The Monster, i.e. Frankenstein monster. What is it to live and then be reborn with your body sewn up and deformed? Hailed in by the lightning, a soul is here summoned by the twisted mind of a student. Hideous to all he encounters, never to be loved by another, emotionally abandoned by his father. Too old to be young, too young to know truth, unnatural to be living at all. May he seek revenge in deadly places, wealthy valleys or Northwest Passage. Awaken the peaceful to utter pain, a tragedy caused by a man obsessed with denying nature's way. This one's called Tonight at the Theater. And it was about last year when I first went to the Capitol Theater and saw a little production of something, but kind of was trying to feel the mood, wasn't fully. So I feel like a ghost. Enter in silence, alone, uncertain, the theater empty. I am early. The magic of presence dispelled, longing to witness a show, longing to be the show. Wanting to run and feel the thrill, roll up inside the red curtains, examine the soundproof walls, catwalk down the aisles, lights guiding my passage, jump on the stage and shout out lines of poetry. As people arrive, I feel more shy. Perhaps isolation has caused damage. Feel the effects of being new, this town I have yet to fully meet. Years since this building hosted souls, a theater untouched for years. I feel like a ghost. I taste the inspiration, illusion of a scene set before me, deception, the goal of a comedy. Will I laugh, convinced of their tomfoolery? Try not to stand out in the buzzing traffic of chattering souls, for now I shall watch their show, sit back, absorb, gain, and learn, invisible as a ghost. How much time do I have?
I lost track there. I think probably got time for one more short one. If you got a short one, that'd be good.
Short ones? Let's see. I feel like I actually read that one. Let me find something short. Oh, that one's 2 pages long. Waves are what we chip away from our memories, hurried, phenomenal, diminished. Crashing upon the rocks as if they ever had a chance at survival. Every wave quickly forms and washes out at once. A terrific punch into oblivion like it never ever was. It reminds me that in consciousness nothing exists for long. For all things are God, yet it doesn't stay the same. 1 molecule of a second exists the wave. 1 century of life exists my body, but time isn't what I think in this dream. For I exist forever within these eyes, but there is no map for my life. Collapse.
Karl. Awesome. A perfect note to end on, Rachelle. Thank you so much for that. And good luck with the rehearsals tonight. All right. Enjoy. And next time you got to tell us a little bit about the production, what's coming up. We'll drum up some enthusiasm and get some people buying tickets. Perfect. All right, our next reader is our feature reader, and we're so glad to welcome Daniela Lorenzi from Victoria coming to read to us tonight from her beautiful home with her beautiful artwork in the background there. And Daniela is, she's moved around a lot in her life, but she's settled on Vancouver Island, retired from a career in language teaching. And so she's weathering the aging process with as much grace and humor as possible, And yes, her writing helps her, as it helps us all, Danielle.
It sure does.
Yes.
It sure
So,
does.
so you're going to read to us from This Old House tonight, and I take it it's creative nonfiction. Is that correct?
No, it's poetry.
It's poetry. Oh my
It's
goodness.
poetry.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I was misinformed.
That's okay. I do write creative nonfiction as well, but this little collection, This Old House, is actually poetry.
Beautiful. All right. Take it away.
Thank you.
And we're going to leave a
Well-
little time at the end for some Q&A. So, you got 20 minutes, so go for it. Enjoy.
Okay, thank you. Well, thank you, everyone. It's good to be here, and it's nice to see some friendly faces out there.
Mhm.
So yes, this I'm going to be reading from This Old House. It was published by Repartee Press, came out last spring, and I want to thank Ian Cognito for all his help in birthing this baby with me. Without him, it wouldn't be here. So This Old House is basically talking about home and about place and about belonging and all these things that we that are so important to us. How we build a home, how we build community, what shapes us into the people that we are, where we come from, are the people who got us going in life, the people we meet along the way, the people that we lose. So all of that in one little book. So I will start in Italy, where things, actually I wasn't born there, but my first memories are of there. So that's actually what I considered home for many, many, many years. Going home. Mama leads me to the rabbit hutch, empty now, wood splintered and smooth by time, wind, the relentless August sun. Rusted chicken wire drooping at the top right-hand corner, frame door swinging from one black rusted hinge. It leans now into the gnarled olive tree, and she marvels. I used to climb up to that branch. Look, who could get up there now? She sees herself 60 years ago, wistful smile, head tilted slightly towards the knotted tree. I hid in there once with the rabbits. I was 3. Your Zia Maria, crazy with looking, dragged me out. My forehead caught. You see that nail? Cut me here, this scar. If only I'd reached up, touched that weathered dent, brushed the hurt away, still fresh after so many seasons. Going home. The next poem, I think we can all relate to. It's the heart of the house, the heart of ourselves. Where does everything happen in the house? In the kitchen. That's where we gather. That's where we like to stay. Sunday in the kitchen. My little one stands on the step stool at the counter, rolling ropes of gnocchi through clouds of flour. Sky blue elephant apron, awash in white. Small fingers press into sticky potato dough, while from behind comes my reminder, amore, be gentle, very gentle. Papa comes through the back door, cradling a small wicker basket of ripe green figs, just picked, softly covered by a faded red tea towel. His calloused fingers, never tender in youth, now tread lightly, fearful of damaging his August gift. Mama at the stove stirs simmering tomato sauce and basil. We ignore the crimson squirts on the cooktop. Time enough for cleaning later. My love's fresh-made pesto lines the red scallop serving bowl, waiting beside plates of antipasti. The patio table is set. We celebrate al fresco tonight. Friends drift in, voices mingling with the steam. They pick up laden dishes and bottles of wine as I dust off and untie the elephant apron, plant a peck on flowery hair, shoo everyone outside. But the kitchen remains chock full and buzzing. All are reluctant to leave this cacophony of preparation, this abundance of smells, sounds, bonhomie, this kitchen cornucopia. Sunday in the kitchen. The next poem well, it's a love poem. It's a beginnings poem, beginning of the year. New Year's morning. Outside the window, an unexpected dusting of snow. Pat Metheny's anthem of hope rises from the stereo, like the steam from our first coffee of the year. Sam lies oblivious on the bed beside me. Dreams of squirrel chasing swirl in his head, while the cat, cool and prideful in the doorway, licks on. And you, bring croissants and homemade jam, bend in for a lingering kiss, not the first of the year, as the naked branches of the fig tree shimmer out in the cold. New Year's morning. We were blessed, very blessed, quite a few years ago now to welcome grandkids, and they've been such a font of inspiration, and it's been wonderful. So you'll have to put up with a couple of grandkid poems. Contender. I'm 4 years old, she says, Nutella dabbed digits raised high enough for the grown-up to see and heed. Dark eyes shoot fire. Yes, a big girl now. Pigtails and sparkling nails, purple scarves, pink leotards, Barbies, ponies, boxes of gems, sips of pretend tea from periwinkle china cups. Long, lean legs jump high to pop soap bubbles dancing toward the clouds, then loop wide circles round and round Big Brother, no longer too little to be counted. Contender. And grandchildren are able to give one a different perspective on what we think of as reality, as exemplified by this next poem called My Grandchildren Love My Jiggly Bits. Not a source of embarrassment, the soft pudding-like reminder of my advancing age and imminent demise. To them, the loose oatmeal that hangs from my arms, the doughy bulges that ooze from bathing suits and tank tops, the muffin top escaping skinny jeans, are fonts of mirth, delight, protrusions to be kneaded, jabbed, and joggled, patted, and prodded. They giggle and tickle and poke and bury themselves in my mass, apparently content with all the excess. My grandchildren love my jiggly bits. To see the world through a child's eyes. And on to climate change of sorts. Climate change. My hormones packed up and went away without so much as a goodbye, just left. I didn't even see them leave. They were so silent. Left me sandbagged, desiccated, a hazy shadow of my ripe old self, desperate to find purpose for the withering organs squandering space inside this shell. Take the womb, for example. Just hangs there, plain solitaire. No visits from the neighbors anymore, for the ovaries have also shut up house. Cobwebs obscure their front doors, while crone eggs can be found curled up in moth-eaten chairs, perusing great expectations, nibbling on stale wedding cake. Then there's the vagina, tropical vestibule, once lush with lust and promise, now braced and battened down against the desert winds which wail through day and night, heaping listless dust on a parched, once rhythmic thoroughfare. Outwardly, however, it seems that I still merit a footprint on this earth. Round, deceptively inviting, warm mass draws morning nuzzling and tentative knocking at the parchment door. There is always hope, after all, that a spring-like light might trickle in through brittle Spanish moss, and that more humid tropic breezes will prevail. Climate change. Well, there's all kinds. There's all kinds. In a home and a house, of course, one of the things that gives some of us a lot of pleasure and work is the garden, but lots of rewards. This was an experience I had, I think last August or the August before, which also, of course, August brings out a lot of wasps, as they did this year. This is called Wasp and Basil. She hangs from the tip of a leaf, still as death in sultry August air. How strange to expire so pendulously, clinging to an herb, to take in air through spiracles 1 minute, then simply stop. I wonder if her foreclaws will loosen, her yellow jailbird body drop to the soil to become fodder for next year's crop. But now a resurrection. She has drawn herself up, is making her way, so languorous, so deliberate, along her chosen leaf. Almost tender, this carnal exploration of the lush green curve and midrib. Her mandible skims each vein, each lamina, with an aching unhurriedness. She brushes the length of the petiole to the stem, pivots to the underside of the leaf, continues this interspecies lovemaking from a new, unmapped position. She has all the time in the world. Wasp and Basil. Another one from the garden, late summer. The garden crackles with August. Straw lawn and parchment leaves prick and poke young toes, calloused bunions, padded paws. It offers burnished tips of lily fronds, the scorched curl of misplanted hostas, a sticky droop of plum petunias. Yellow-white stalks bake in the sun. Daylilies' desiccated rattles shimmy under rose petals that cling by a prayer, then float languid to the ground. In the south bed, whitewashed blooms slump, while faded copper astilbe feather the sky. Only vibrant Pollyanna dahlias refuse to sag. Late summer. And moving on into winter. This one is called Robin 2. We have a fountain on the patio in the front, in the backyard, and we get all kinds of birds that come to it for bathing and drinking and whatnot. Robin 2. Flames jig in the hearth as wind seeps through doorway, bone, and marrow. My book and teacup keep me warm. Above the patio stones, brittle leaves churn their death dance, while all around a late abundance of garden wafts its dim undertone. The hushed fountain is bundled now against the coming freeze, top tier wrapped in tarp and cinched with rope. All is in repose, except a robin perched on the fountain's head, whose eyes pierce with disapproval. Me, cozy by the fire, she with nowhere left to bathe. Robin too. I live right beside Mount Doug Park, so I spend a lot of my life in there in all seasons. And this was after a big snowfall, quite a few years ago when I still had my dog Sam. After the blizzard, 1. In the woods, silence, except for the moan of boot on soft snow, except for the sudden trill of an eagle, high on a fir, reveling in the crisp blue and white. Past the clearing, at the foot of the hill, Sam bounds ahead, plowing chest deep through blinding drifts, determined to be first to reach the red arbutus at the summit. 2. On the second day, a glut of sounds. The squelch of packed snow underneath my boot, a crackle of frozen earth on the path. Beside me, the rustle of birds in pursuit of food. And Sam's low grunts as he tugs at icy clumps stuck to his fur, no longer eager to be first. After the blizzard. Sometimes we venture afar. We leave the house, the safety of the house, our comfort. And I'll read this one called Kauai Couple. Hurricane Hilda's fingertips linger on this lush land. Fast bending palms flail as storm clouds rush overhead, unload capricious buckets full. The pool is empty now, but for an older couple, bulging but blessed, dancing, tender, under the angry green canopy, swaying to silent music imprinted on bones and sinew, her sagging arms resting on burly shoulders, his at home on ample hips, mouth to ear, sweet secrets floating on the breeze, the eye of the storm. Outside the enclosure, young friends head for the bar, oblivious to the hushed pas de deux being performed inside. Their taut, bronzed bodies displace less water, it's true, but oh, that sweet, sweet swaying. And an outing closer to, not quite so far as Kauai. Barista in the Woods. A quaint espresso bar nestles in tall cedars. Remarkable find so deep in these woods. The angular barista looms above me, his leanness filling the tiny room, voice as he is tall, full as he is scarce. Voice deep as he is tall, full as he is scarce. What'll it be, love? Choco's gone with that. An accent to charm the pants off many a man or woman. His booming bonhomie overpowers, crowds me back to the red wooden door, even as my body freezes, feet rooted beside the display case, rich with spelt muffins, organic carrot cake. I'm desperate for breath, but Mr. Lean has filched what little air there was. At last, I clutch my cappuccino, slink to the outside patio, stumble down uneven wooden steps to the safety of my car. lions, buddies, and bears. Oh my. We suffer, we introverts. We really do. Sometimes we leave, and sometimes the world comes to us, comes inside our home through the radio, through our devices. It encroaches often because there are so many things happening out there that are disturbing. So I'll read a couple of those. I see red, and an angry young father heaves a bowl full of dinner against the yellow kitchen wall, spaghetti strands marbling new paint crimson in their slide down to polished gray linoleum. And a young man guns his way into a school through 20 children just starting their day, who now cower beneath desks or teachers, then bleed wide-eyed on scuffed taupe tiles. And 6 young men shred a young woman's insides for daring to board a bus at night, while she screams for help as passers-by pass by, unflinching, her secrets soaking an ashen roadside. And a bus-cut IT student vans through walkers on a crowded street because women won't give him his due. And now, more broken bodies, limp and leaking. And now, more scarlet seeping into concrete. Nothing but red. I see red.
Hey, Daniela. Yeah, that's great. We're getting close to the end of your time here. I want to leave a little bit of time for some Q&A.
Okay.
That was a heavy poem to end on, very powerful.
Yes.
But yeah, beautiful writing, just so rich in sensory detail, and it was beautiful. So I just want to throw it out to our audience here if there are any questions they want to ask Daniela before we go on. So I'll do maybe Zoom people first. If anybody wants to unmute and ask a question, please feel free to do so. And hearing none, we're going to go to our in-house audience then and see if anybody here has got anything they'd like to ask Daniela. No, I think all good. Okay. So yeah, I'm curious. This is your first book of poetry, but how long have you been writing poetry now?
In a sort of serious way, it's almost, about 15 years, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
I've been, publishing in journals and things like that, but yeah.
No, it shows you've been honing your craft for quite a while. That's why I was asking, because very polished poems. Lovely.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. I think we're going to move along then. And oh, hang on. David's got a question here in house. Just, you can go up to the mic or holler it out and I'll pass it along, whatever. Okay. David's going to come up to the mic and ask you something, Daniela.
Thank you.
Question. The early ones, you said the cat, cool and prideful, licks on. And I thought, God, if only I could write a 2-word sentence like that, licks on. that would be good, but I use 20 words instead. So, and the licks on tells you everything. So thank you for that one.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Yeah, that one really stuck out for me too.
They're good at that. Those.
You probably couldn't hear that, but there was a big round of applause anyway from.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Yeah, everybody. It was pin drop silence in here. People were spellbound. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay. All right.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
And please feel free to join us any last Wednesday of the month. We're here all the time.
Okay.
So you've got.
Okay. Thanks a lot, Derek.
Okay. Thanks, Daniela. All right. So we're going to have an in-house reader now. We've got our resident, Joe Lunchbucket, AKA Bob. Who's going to share some of his poetry with us tonight, I'm guessing? There we go. We might have to bring that mic up just a little bit. There you go. Perfect. Perfect. You're old pro at this now, Bob.
In 1950s to 2000, we had no visible homeless. Everyone was working or in seasonal layoff or was housed in some asylum. Every spring in Thunder Bay, the wine gang would get off a freight train, camp on edge of town, raid a few gardens, and hop another freight in the fall. Evading cold winter was their goal. Worker class kids dressed no different than those whose parents were on the dole. We were our brother's keeper. Have we since then sold our soul? We're not all born equal. It's genetic, and someone will always draw the short straw. Did closing mental homes create more homeless than what post-World War II Europe saw? What the hell happened? Has an enlightened 21st century regressed to dark ages? Is church state mind control tool? And does media monopoly select our political sages? Should G20 be grateful that we exceeded 67, the world's average life age? Does it go by seniority? Should clan elders prepare for the last stage? My friend's doctor made him an offer that he couldn't refuse. That is, he could die without a colonoscopy or on the operating table. He gambled on surgery and lost. Will we stop global warming and switch to electricity or hydrogen only after big oil has pumped the last drop? Do we desperately need a world cop? Addiction is a choice, but unwanted birth is parental flaw. Will G20 countries again see world hungry children posters like in the past we saw? Could a UN government make disaster aid and negotiations international law? Can we make UN democracy work to settle all nations' disputes peacefully and save our progeny from becoming collateral damage in nuclear World War III? Can prime directive be to diminish Russia and retain U.S. superiority? But would prolonged peace cause another depression and break U.S. war industry?
Thank you, Bob. Yeah, it's so true. The way homelessness has just become an unaccepted but a commonplace thing just throughout North America now. It's a crime, absolute crime. Thanks for bringing that to our attention. All right, we're going to go back out into Zoom land now, and we've got a 10-minute spotlight coming. Ian Cognito is joining us, the founders of Repartee Press. From Nanaimo, and we're always glad to see you, Ian. How are you doing?
I've got a cold,
Oh dear.
so we'll see how well I do. It's just a very mild one so far. Let's knock on wood.
Good.
Everybody can hear me okay?
Everything's good here.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah, we've got applause. We got thumbs up out in Zoom land.
All right, that sounds good. Okay, so I'm going to begin with something from this book, which is called Laugh Lines, and it's a poetry anthology on humor. And one of the pieces that I have in here is my mother was a big fan of Downton Abbey, and in fact, she would binge watch multiple episodes every time PBS had one of their fundraising marathons. So I wrote this poem thinking that it would give her a posthumous chuckle, and in it I imagine a rebellion from downstairs. It's called Downtime Abbey. This is when the servants downstairs take over the whole enterprise, rise up against their masters, and throw the bums out. And then, as if to make up for lost time, they let everything go to pot, or to laudanum, as the case may be. They raid the larder, drink the wine cellar dry, sing vulgar tunes in the parlor, fornicate in every corner, topple precious heirlooms. Some may still jostle for position now and then, but just until a burst of collective laughter takes the piss out of any pretense. Then it's back to their bacchanal love fest debauchery, a grand undoing. While outside, their former masters and mistresses, noses pressed against frost-clad windows, look on forlornly, wanting some of this for themselves. But for their corsets, their cuffs, their stiff upper lips, and pampered asses. Okay, now I have to go to another screen. Okay, so this one is from an upcoming book that I hope to have published, and the book is called Play on Worlds, and this particular poem is about the father I never had. It's called Vicarious Zadrine. Well, son, I have to say, I'm a bit disappointed in you. I know you can do better. I want you to consider that next time you're in this situation. Now go to your room and think about everything I have said to you. And listen, no comics tonight, okay? Lights out at 9. This or something like it, said by TV Dad, in concerned tones to his blunder-prone kid, TV Son, still navigating his way through life's little masteries with the aid of sound parental guidance. I was smitten. I was, with every last one of them. Hugh Beaumont, Robert Young, Ozzie Nelson, Lloyd Bridges, Fred McMurray. First, they'd give the kid this vanilla-toned tongue lashing. Then the kid would run up to his bedroom, devastated, tears welling up from having disappointed TV Dad. Oh, the agony of it. TV Dad would wait it out a bit for a brief character-building interlude before going upstairs to save the day. He'd knock gently on TV Son's door, carefully, quietly enter the room, sit on the edge of TV Son's bed, and speak comforting words in a soothing descant. Well, I would be absolutely head over heels at this point. TV Dad was giving me hope, offering an alternative take on masculinity, on fatherhood, like manna to this verbally abused child here, starved for nourishment as I was. Gosh darn it, I was going to try to be a better person. I was. I'd find those lessons lurking and learn from them. I'd become a responsible human being, brick by brick, whatever it took. Enough to make TV Dad extra proud of me. This next one is one that is from Play on Worlds as well, and it's about an encounter I had with a 5-year-old when I was a daycare worker many, many, many years ago. His name was Simon, and this poem is called Simonized. Left to his own devices, he plunged into the remaining batter in the bowl, while the teacher dashed off to the oven with the soon-to-be cake. This teacher, who would come back to a disaster in shades of brown, chocolate everywhere, on every finger, on everything each finger had touched. The perfect crime scene. But where to begin? Chocolate in his hair, on his clothing, all over his face, spread across the table, his canvas large indeed. Unrestricted, borderless. He had clearly finger painted outside the lines. The spoons the teacher had brought back from the kitchen, useless now. Licking the bowl was not to be accomplished in such civilized fashion. Not when genuine licking had already prevailed. 5-year-olds are, after all, built literal. No, rags and paper towels and fresh changes of water were what was needed for this intervention. A rude interruption to his blissful abandon in a bowl of batter. Mud play had never tasted so good. That was actually a friend of mine. I was speaking on the phone. I became friends with his mother, and she asked me, when I told her the story, she asked me to turn it into a poem only just a few weeks ago. And this memory is decades old. The next one, called Clear Cut, is one I wrote when my neighbor next door clear cut her property. And I was using some rather colorful language under my breath, and the poem came out of imagining that her 5-year-old son, I believe 5 years old, could hear what I was saying, although I'm sure he couldn't. Anyhow, this is called Clear Cut. You worry about my colorful language. Sorry, got that wrong. Let's start again. You worry my colorful language will somehow impinge on the impressionable young mind of your son, burnish it to an unsavory hue. So what will you tell him then about the clear cut you've made across your property, across his legacy? Big L here, if you can even grasp that. And what color is it, your deed? In my way of thinking, it's a blazing red, the color of a fresh gash that will scar to purple, worthy of colorful language like mine. You have sworn across the landscape with your foul act, while I have simply conjured the words to match it. Tell that to your son. This one is very topical. It's about something that's in the news right now. It's called Off-Brand. And I imagine most of you know about the scandal, or supposed scandal, with Russell Brand and the alleged sex abuses. So this is my little take on it, because I actually had misread something that I saw online. And this is about my misreading. I read that Russell Brand, the alleged celebrity predator and serial sex abuser, has been demonetized on YouTube. My initial reading of this at my eyes first capture sees demonetized, as in becoming liberal media's latest demon, pinup boy. Though I am not a subscriber to all that paranoia about wokeism and cancel culture. But then, upon closer inspection, I read it as demonetized, as was intended, I'm sure. Brand will not be making any money off his notoriety, at least not on YouTube, not for the moment anyhow. Lawyers are expensive. Someone will surely go fund him, though I think he should go fund himself. And I'll finish with this one. It's called Apprentice, and this is, again, about childhood, and mine in particular. Apprentice. He is a walking, self-fulfilling prophecy. Working one-to-one with his father, he goofs up early on in the process to break the tension, to bring on the inevitable sooner than later. A gaffe inserted just so he can be dismissed, dubbed hopeless, clumsy, good for nothing, released quickly from the discomfort of this combustible proximity. He moves on, banished, deprived of this opportunity for mentorship, this chance to learn something new, to find skill waiting for him, hand outstretched. That's it, everyone.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Ian. That was wonderful. Some great poems in there. I love the blend that you get. It's a perfect blend of humor and pathos in the funny poems. Even there's that line you walk back and forth on. It's very sweet. So
I think it's a line I teeter back and forth on, but anyhow.
At least you're not staggering drunkenly back and forth. It's
No, that's another option.
Anyway, Ian's books are available at reparteepress.com, and same with Daniela Lorenzi's book of poetry as well there. And for those of you on Zoom, you can see it in the chat, but I just put that out for people here in the audience at Char's. So, and while we're on marketing things, also, if anybody out there in Zoom land feels like contributing to Char's Landing, of course, you can always do an e-transfer to electricmermaidreads@gmail.com, and Char would always appreciate a little bit of extra moolah to keep the place going here. So, all right, we're going to come back in-house now. Thanks, Ian, for that. That was great. Please join us again. It's good to see you. Take care. And in the house here, we've got Jeremy Gallagher is going to come up and share some of his work. He left a didgeridoo at home tonight. He's going to come up and be literati instead.
Yes, I will use microphone without the didgeridoo tonight. Yes. All right. Okay. I was just going to say that the last presenter, I could really relate to the poem about Simon and the chocolate cake. I feel like that was a very relatable for me. I have to say I'm very skeptical of people and language as a didgeridoo player. I hear people talking, and I can tell that I'm not fully listening to them, and they put so much thought into the words. And I can't help but think that I'm maybe just a little bit smarter than most people, but not everyone. But that makes me think that most people don't really hear anyone ever about anything. So it's a terrible skepticism that I have. I've written a style of poetry to indulge in humility and making short, quick poems that can be read both forward and backwards. So, and I've called this poetry haiku. So my intention with this poem, because there are so many wonderful poets out here that put so much beautiful thought and inspiration into what they do, and I can't help but feel like the entire audience just leaves being like, what just happened? That was amazing, but so my intention with these is that you might remember them. So they are 3-line poems, and they follow a symmetrical layout. All right. Now I have to choose which ones to read, though. All right, I'll read this one first. And I call them haikus, H-I-Q. And all right, sounds good. Okay. I like to make space for translation's errors are most beautiful without need for another language. Oh, okay. Yeah, okay, thank you. Okay. And so I can read it backwards. And they're supposed to be read forwards and backwards. All right. Without need for another language, Where translation's errors are most beautiful, I like to make space.
Beautiful.
Okay. All right. I don't expect you to remember that one. That one's not on the test, just so you know, because I don't even know what it means. So all right. And this one I feel like might be on the test, so just check. Yeah. All right. Without words, no thoughts. Language is crystallized feeling, recombining in flight. Without syllables, no sound. So I'll read that backwards now. All right. Without syllables, no sound. Language is crystallized feeling, recombining in flight. Without words, no thought. Okay. All right. This next one is this next one is about my love for the semicolon. I really like the semicolon just as the shape of it and how it fits into a sentence. Kind of gives me permission to pause, but I don't feel like I'm like, like I'm missing out on anything. I'm like right in the middle of the thought, I'm not like, I'm like in the jacuzzi at the party, but I get to like relax for a second. All right. Okay. So this is about semicolons, but it's very carnal. So if you're under 19 or over 91, you should probably close your ears. Okay. All right. Okay. Where to begin with this again? Is it intestinal? I love semicolons. Truly do. Is it vaginal? Okay. All right. I'll read it backwards now. Actually, it's that. So I'm good. Is that vaginal? I love semicolons. Truly do. Is that intestinal? So it's supposed to be a terrible carnal pun. Any good joke is worth studying for a really long time before you understand it. So you know, I really don't believe in instantaneous humor. Humor is something you have to develop like a doctoral thesis, So that one you can sit and study and reference and make clip notes about maybe. Okay. This next two I'll read in sequence. They're sort of astrological, metaphysical in nature. Okay. Okay. Hello, it's me, she said. I am the universal spiraling Tao. Hello, it's me, he said. Hello, it's me, he said. I am the universal spiraling Tao. Hello, it's me, she said. Hello, moon. Yes, we're here again too. Hello, sun. Hello, sun. Yes, we're here again too. Hello, moon. Okay. So now that I've established the format of a poem that you can read forwards and backwards, I will continue with this format in the future. So do I have time for a few more maybe? Okay.
Maybe one more.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Here's the next one then. All right. Everything's alive. Everything's alive. Like life. Everything's alive. I am God, and so are you. Nothing special. Nothing special. I am God, and so are you. Everything's alive. Okay.
Beautiful.
Right.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jeremy.
Next time I might bring the didgeridoo. I don't know. I don't really feel like that's the right.
It's not
really
I mean,
poetry.
it would always be welcome. You
Oh.
could do a little didgeridoo intro and then go into some poetry, whatever.
Okay.
Yeah, we'd love
All right.
Yeah.
Okay. Sounds good. All right. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah. I remember my first year students used to just struggle with semicolons, like, what they'd want to use them instead of commas, no, it's a little subtler than that. Absolutely. Okay, we're going to go back on the line now, and Peter Paul Van Camp is coming to us from Denman Island. Good evening, Peter Paul. How are you?
Good evening, Derek, and how are you is the question. I'm fine, to answer yours, and I'm delighted to be back here. Gosh, I'm here frequently, am I not? And you're probably expecting that I'm going to read some more of my poems in the Peter Paul Van Camp on a Bicycle at 70 series, and you would not be wrong, although I'm going to read something else as well. So I'll start off with one. I was talking to Karl earlier on before we commenced this evening, and I remarked that a lot of the ideas I get through these bicycling poems come to me when I'm riding between where I work and where I live. Where I work is at the Corlin Winery and Vineyard on Denman Island here. So that inspired this one. It's Peter Paul Van Camp on a Bicycle at 70, and this is number 25. All ye wine bibbers on this island might thank me if ye knew that when you see me riding, 'tis to the vineyard that I go. To the vineyard I do ride and go. When there I tend the tender vines and help thereby the grapes to grow. So please, when you are full of wine in your cups and fully primed, lit up, plastered, sozzled, blind, snockered, foozled, pie-eyed, recall whose toil helped make you so, stiff-licated, bluthered, tight, and please, don't run me off the road. Don't run me off the road, all right? So I like to travel, not always by bicycle, and I've been doing this for a long time. And back in 1973, I was on my way to Hollywood, California. I forget why. I only spent a day there, but it was a long trip coming and going. Anyway, I passed through the town of Eugene, Oregon on my route, and I stayed at a hotel whose appearance took my fancy. Not only its appearance, but its name. It was the Hotel Smead. And so I think that I must have been one of the very last guests of that establishment, because I looked it up, and apparently it had closed 2 years before I made my appearance in Eugene. And the services were at a minimum, as I recall. Anyway, this is something I've finally written after 50 years. It's called Since 1885, and it attempts to replicate what might have been written on an advertising card, which I would have found in the bedside drawer, written at a time when they were already considering closing down, let's say. Since 1885. We are enchanted that you've stopped with us. We'll meet your every need, for we appreciate your custom at the Hotel Smead. Does this mean you'll have a pillow while you sojourn in Eugene? Oh, yes. Not only that, a towel, and that towel should be clean. Now, the bar of soap provided might have seen some use before, but it's soap, so it is sanitary, as you may be sure. If fine dining you are after, why, you need no further look. From our kitchen, you'll hear laughter. That's our waitress and the cook. But why the merriment, you'll wonder, and how come it never stops? It could be they're just delighted with the stews and steaks and chops. Now, the tablecloths and napkins only rarely show a stain, so odds are, if you've dined here once, you'll dine with us again. That's why our bellhop will provide you, for a small gratuity, with a pint of Pepto-Bismol, should your stomach feel an urgent need. Oh dear, some guests of ours have mentioned that the wallpaper is peeling, while others draw attention to the gaping cracks across the ceiling. And while we're not past caring, it behooves us to relate these imperfections have a bearing on our reasonable rates. Oh yes, and don't forget the shoe shine stand located in our lobby. A nickel gets you looking spruce. The mayor, boot blacks for a hobby. And so we hope you'll punch our pillows, yes, and chortle while you feed, and recommend us to your friends, the Hotel Smeed, Smead, Willamette Street at 7th Avenue, Eugene, Oregon. Telephone Hudson 51885. And remember, reserve ahead and you'll receive a complimentary box of thumbtacks. Now, thank you, and I will leave you with this final installment that I have so far. This is Peter Paul Van Camp on a bicycle at 70, and it's number 40. I've been considering letting my hair grow a little longer, so that when I ride my bicycle, my locks will stream behind me on the breeze, lending a more ostentatious look. But I have to concede that I have no use for such affectation, and in the end I give myself another haircut, just as I've been doing since 1968. As a matter of interest, the money saved through this practice represents the bulk of my fortune, and I may one day use it to purchase either a bell or a horn for my handlebars, but not both. For that, well, friends, that would just be showy, and that's not me at all. Thank you, folks. Thank you, Derek. Thank you all.
Thank you, Peter. Entertaining as always, man. But I have to ask you about the brooch you've got on your sweater there tonight. Is that a hat?
Why, no, it's an egg. You get egg on your clothing.
Oh, it's an
and you
egg.
just can't get it out. So there it stays.
Okay. Yeah, better on your chest there than on your face. That's good.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Oh.
And I love that last poem about, the hair trailing up behind you. My hair, it seems, becoming more theoretical as I age, and yours is somehow hanging in there. So congratulations.
Well, if you comb it just so, you can look like a younger man. I work at it.
All right. Keep writing those verses, man. Thank you.
Thank you, and on with the program.
Okay. All right, we're going to swing back into Char's Landing now, and Vicki Drybrough. Where did she disappear to? Oh, she's in the powder room. Okay, that's all right. We'll switch gears and we'll go to Mark Wonneck in Qualicum Beach, who's standing by.
All right. Unmute myself, I think.
Good.
Yes.
Yes.
You can hear me now?
Yes.
It sounds good. Yes. Very good.
Sounds good. Let me just check with the audience here at Char. Sounds good. Yes, we've got heads nodding.
Very good.
Heads nodding and not from falling asleep. They're nodding.
Okay, good. Not yet. We'll see what we can do.
Okay.
Someone built this bridge over the river, and it's been standing here like forever. I'm pretty good with Lego, but that's as far as I go. But there's someone who builds bridges over rivers, and there's someone who makes machines that can talk. I don't know what to think about machines that can talk, but you gotta know a thing or two about, well, I wish I knew to make machines that can talk. I'm not that smart. I don't suppose I'll ever be. And if I pretend I am, kindly remind me. There's someone who is a rocket scientist. The smart ones are always the quietest. I know it's not brain surgery, but that there moon is now in reach. I'm pretty impressed with rocket scientists. And we've got computers in our pockets these days. Someone thought about it, I guess, and figured out a way to put a computer in a pocket with no electrical socket. Geez, even electrical sockets blow me away. I'm not that smart. I don't expect I'll ever be. And if I pretend I am, kindly remind me. I heard once that the Vikings in Iceland decided to choose between paganism and Christianity. And and they went about it quietly. No blood was shed. They just decided to agree instead. And here I get upset if the dishwasher's not loaded properly. The other day, I needed a tetanus shot. A bundle of chicken wire and clumsy sure adds up. What's more, in fact, there's a vaccine for that. I thank whoever it was who came up with a tetanus shot. I'm not that smart, it's plain to see. And though I mostly know what I know there's quite a few who know a lot more than me. I'm not that smart, it's so easy to see. And if I pretend I am, kindly remind me. There are those who know just what to do when someone is mad or hurt or blue. They know just what to say, when to go, when to stay. Of all the kinds of smart, it's the one I wish I could do. You may be wondering why I'm singing this song. The other day I told someone I know how they feel. They told me I was wrong. So I began to understand I'm not as smart as I think I am. And now to remember, I sing this song. I'm not that smart, it's clear to see. Still, if you're looking for a friend, maybe I could be good company. I'm not that smart, I don't expect I'll ever be. And if I pretend I am, kindly remind me. If I pretend I am, kindly remind me.
Beautiful.
There we go. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that, Mark. That was gorgeous, gorgeous, and so true. There's just so much we have no clue about. We just take it for granted, and somebody else figured it all out. You know, I'm building a house right now, and my builder, you know, we're getting it blow by blow as we're going along, and the amount of knowledge he has about all kinds of things that I have no clue about. I'm just, you know, I just nod a lot and smile and say, yeah. Take care of it, Doug. Yeah, that's good.
I feel that way a lot. Yeah.
Anyway, that was super. Thank you, Mark. And so Mark's music is available at markwonneckmusic.com. So if anybody wants to pick up some of his tunes to listen to again and enjoy over and over, please venture there and help yourself. So we're going to swing back to Char's Landing here now, and Vicky's back from the powder room. Vicki Drybrough is going to read to us here at the podium. Yes. Yeah, so a little tall. We'll bring that one down just an inch or two. Where's Kyle when you need him?
Okay, that's better. Thank you. That's good.
Like who invented the microphone stand that could be adjusted that easily? I mean, that's beyond me even. So. What are you going to read for us tonight, Vicki?
Well, a few months ago, I started reading something called Tips for Writing Creative Nonfiction. And this is a continuation of that, and it's called Tip Number 2. Literary nonfiction includes reflections that emerge from personal concerns or experience. Penny Palmer was peeling potatoes, but thinking about her next door neighbor's new live-in girlfriend. Her name was Tara, and Penny couldn't figure out why she was so hostile. The first time they'd met was a few weeks ago, the day after Tara moved in with Dwayne. She walked into Penny's yard and started to berate her. Now Penny's husband, Ray, was spending all his spare time next door. There was a 20-year difference between Ray and Dwayne. Tara was younger than Ray's daughter. They had nothing in common. Penny suspected Ray felt superior because he knew more than they did about politics and world affairs. She also knew Tara had her hooks sunk deep into Ray, not just because she looked hot and sleazy and flattered him with adoring smiles and words of praise, but because she knew the way to Ray's heart, which was the "poor me" card. Anytime Dwayne didn't appreciate something she did, or was angry at her for doing something he didn't like, she would run to Ray and complain about Dwayne's behavior with her pouty lips and her sad eyes. "I really feel sorry for Tara," Ray said one time. "Poor kid, she tries so hard, and that damn Dwayne doesn't appreciate anything she does." "Tara's a big girl," Penny said, "and she's known him a long time. She knew exactly what she was getting into." Ray grunted. He didn't like it when she took Dwayne's side. Dwayne had lived next door for nearly 10 years, and they had come to know him really well. Penny even helped him with his divorce papers and drew up a settlement both he and his wife could live with. She could count on her fingers the number of times Ray went over to Dwayne's during those 10 years. Now he was over there every day, sometimes 2 or 3 times a day. Tara was animated and overbearing when other people were around. She laughed loudly at everyone's jokes and talked over top of people to draw attention to herself. Once, Penny picked up the TV remote, pointed it at her, and pushed the mute button. Troy, who was in the kitchen, caught her eye and grinned. "Doesn't work. I tried it." He disappeared downstairs. Penny smiled to herself and made a mental note. Personality trait number 1, insecure. As if her loudness wasn't enough, she dressed in skin-tight clothes that emphasized her butt and exposed her large breasts. When guys were visiting Dwayne, she always found a reason to bend over in front of them, pretending to pick something up or adjust the zipper on her boot. After giving everybody a good long look through her cheap see-through spandex tights, she would straighten up and pretend everything was normal. Sometimes, if the conversation didn't include her, she would bend forward and lean on the hood of a car or the back of a chair, exposing as much of her breasts as possible. She spent a lot of time arching her back and running her hands through her hair. Penny made a second mental note. Personality trait number 2 only relates to men sexually. When Penny and Ray were walking to their car and Tara was working in the yard, Ray would head for the fence like a kid after an ice cream truck. Tara would come to the fence and gaze up at Ray, her face alive and laughing at whatever foolishness was coming out of his mouth. Sometimes she would put her head down and look up at him sideways, like Lauren Bacall's famous "come hither" look. Penny laughed out loud the first time she did it, thinking it was a joke. Tara ran her fingers through her hair as she arched her back and sighed. "I'm pretty tired after all that hard work. I'm going to soak in the hot tub. It really loosens me up." She ran her hands over her midriff and hips and releases all that tension. Ray was staring like a deer in headlights, and Penny had to physically drag him away. "We gotta go," she called to Tara. Ray looked over his shoulder as he followed Penny to the car. "I'll come over later." Penny grew tired of the performances. She avoided Tara whenever possible, resentful of the effect she was having on Ray, and worried too when she thought about Tara's track record. 3 months ago, when he had first told them about her, Dwayne said that his best friend Gordon and his wife Tara had separated, and he had run into her at a barbecue. The next time he saw her, they had a few beers, and Tara said she wanted Dwayne to make love to her. Even though they were separated, Dwayne didn't think Gordon would be okay with it, but Tara insisted. The next morning, she went straight to Gordon and told him what had happened. Dwayne lost his best friend that day. Tara went to church and begged for absolution. Penny was not a superstitious person. Penny was not a suspicious person, but she had worked for 27 years as a legal secretary at a small law firm and had learned to spot trouble when it came calling. Right now, it wasn't just calling. It had broken down her door and was already in her house looking for things to destroy.
Thank you. Thank you, Vicki. Thank you for that character sketch. Very profoundly well done. Thank you. Thank you. Judith Hutchison is our next reader. Judith, there you are, hiding in the back of Char's Landing. So nice to see you, Judith. Yay. What are you going to share with us this evening? You got poetry or
No, I've got
prose?
an excerpt from the memoir I'm working on.
Ah, nice.
But I'm afraid it might be long, and I didn't time it, so I'm just going to dive into the middle.
Sure.
And hopefully that'll be all right. For context, I'll just say I'm 8 or 9 years old, and it's 1959 on the north side of Chicago. This is so weird that, anyway. No menu requests were entertained for supper either. The 5 of us sat down in our places when called to the table. We took our plate as it was handed to us and ate whatever was served on it. There were no big surprises, and we all generally liked what we got. Mom dispensed second helpings without consultation. If we were given more, then we ate more. Whatever we got, we were required to finish it. There was one rule of refusal. If she herself couldn't eat something she fixed, then we didn't have to eat it either. Dessert sometimes appeared on weekends in the form of bread pudding, rice pudding, or tapioca pudding. It was my job to stir the milk in the pot in a figure 8, not forgetting to scrape the sides. Cake came from the store on your birthday. Pie was something your mother ordered for you in a restaurant. Cookies were made on TV by a mother in a cotton house dress, a frilly apron, and heels. June Cleaver's cookies were fresh out of the oven when Beaver got home from school. He would grab one on his way out to play some All-American baseball. He might try for 2, but she wouldn't allow him to spoil his supper. She was the perfect mother, indulgent, yet firm. Then she had to get off the phone about that PTA meeting so she could get Ward's favorite casserole in the oven before he came home from work in a suit and gave her a peck on the cheek and asked her, "How was your day, dear?" and settled down in his easy chair with the paper. Cookies could be pretty nauseating, even if Janie sighed with the unspoken wish that our lives could be like that. Our fanciest supper might have been liver and onions. Cornbread and gravy appeared most often. Cornbread and gravy is still my most comforting food. There was hamburger, meatloaf, grilled cheese. There was no meat served on Fridays because the Pope said so. Friday meant defrosted fish sticks. What's the difference between a piano and a fish? You can tune a piano, but you can't tune a fish. When Mom forgot it was Friday and served meat, we gasped, "Mom, it's Friday. We can't eat that. It's a sin." Mom hesitated for only a second and then proclaimed her judgment. Wasting food is a sin too. God understands. Her authority was so complete that it never occurred to me to bring it up in confession. There was a particular night after supper, which we all remember. Janie found some cornbread hidden on the underside ledge of the kitchen table. Mom bent over to see what Janie was talking about. She saw lots of other dried up food that had obviously been sitting down there for some time. She was buying, cooking, and serving food that was going to waste. Crime was being perpetrated right under her nose. She was being made a fool. Outrageous. She brandished the piece of cornbread in the air. She got that piercing look in her eyes. Who's responsible for this? Silence. She put her face up close and asked us individually, one by one, "Did you do this? Did you do this?" No one owned up. Mom stood back. "Someone here is lying." She looked us over with calm menace. "The person who is responsible is not leaving this kitchen until he has identified himself." Janie was then excused because exposing the evidence had proved her innocence. Little David was not remotely involved in subterfuge, everyone knew, so he was allowed to leave too. Mom told Timmy, Jimmy, and me to stand side by side in a line with our backs to the kitchen wall. "You will stand there until the culprit confesses," she said. We stood there for a long time. Mom went about her business cleaning up. Every so often, she would stop and speak to us. First, intimidation. "I don't care how long it takes. You will stand there all night until the guilty party steps forward." She tried reasonableness. "All you have to do is speak up, and then you'll be free to go. It's not about the food. It's about telling the truth." She tried divide and conquer. "If you know who did this and you think you are protecting them, think again. That person is not protecting you. They are letting you share their blame." Finally, the morality card. "If you know who it is, say so, or you're making a liar out of yourself. The guilty party may be willing to corrupt you, but do not corrupt yourself." We continued to stand. I spent my time wondering who it might be. Timmy? Possibly. Jimmy? Possibly. If I had to guess between them, Timmy. Whichever one it was, neither one was cracking. Time dragged on. Mostly we were suffocating from boredom, and we were getting really tired. Just standing was tough. We knew her plan was to wear us out. We had no plan. We continued to stand. My misery deepened as I shifted from foot to foot. Was I going to have to stand here forever? These two were not cracking. Then, somehow, a desperate idea sparked and struggled for shape in my mind. What if I didn't have to stand here forever? What if I could make this whole thing be over? All I had to do was say I did it. Too wrong, too terribly bold. No. And yet, when you think about it, it doesn't matter which one of us did it. What matters is for this to be over. We could all stop standing here right now if only one of us would just take the blame. Look, just say you did it. No, I won't do it. I'm innocent. So what? That doesn't matter. Say you did it anyway, but it wasn't me. So what? Do you want to stand here all night? No. Well then, say you did it. No, I didn't do it. All right then, enjoy yourself. The battle raged on. Time was exactly like they said, molasses in January. We weren't allowed to lean against the wall. If she caught us, she said, "Stand up straight." This was stupid. Come on, do it. No, do it. No. Time was wearing on past all reasonableness. It was wearing our mother down as much as us. She realized she had trapped herself. She needed a way out. She faced our sorry line and delivered a new ultimatum. The guilty party will be punished. If no one is prepared to tell the truth by the time I am ready to leave this kitchen, then there will be an alternative. If you know who put that food there, you better speak up soon, or all three of you will be eating a large sandwich. A large sandwich? I imagined 2 pieces of soft white bread with a thick slab of cold white lard between them. Oh, a large sandwich. Oh, I was going to have to eat a large sandwich if Jimmy or Timmy did not own up a large sandwich. No. I stepped forward. It was me. You? Mom was shocked. She had only included me in the lineup for appearances. Nevertheless, her hand had been called. She looked keenly at Timmy and Jimmy. You may go, she said. They took off instantly. She stared at me. You just keep standing there till I think of what to do with you. She turned back to the sink. Waiting for her decision gave me time to reconsider. How dare I portray myself as guilty? I was innocent. I had betrayed myself. I was outraged. I pulled on Mom's skirt. She turned around. I didn't do it. She stared down at me. Then she called out, you two, get back in here. And so just like that, the 3 of us were back at our posts, standing in line without leaning against the wall. The break, brief as it had been, had brought refreshment to the spirit. We had renewed energy. We settled in again for the long haul. But then, a miracle. Mom told me to go. After thinking it over, she had decided that I was telling the truth. I made a beeline out of there before she changed her mind. I joined Janie and David, who had found useful occupation at the opposite end of the apartment. I was not there in the kitchen to witness the resolution of the crisis. It was a lifetime later before I found out how it ended. Tim told me. He doesn't remember the details, but nobody had to eat a large sandwich. Jimmy was let off. Mom decided that he was the guilty one. Tim said he bitterly resented her pinning the blame on him. It was outrageous. She had no proof. How dare she? It only proved how she was always against him. One more piece of evidence to feed his resentment. And Tim told me one more thing. He usually liked cornbread, but this time it was just too darn dry, so he snuck it down on the ledge under the table. I knew it.
Awesome, Judith. Thank you so much. That took me back. And yeah, the parental standoffs we went through as children. I'm sure they're still going on, but survived somehow. Okay, we're going back out to Zoomland now, and Atma Franz is up next. And just
Hi.
There you are.
Hey.
Hello, Atma. How are you doing?
I'm good. I'm reading from Gibson's, from the unceded land of the Squamish people, and I'm so excited to be back here. I'm going to read a couple of poems. The first 2 are about autumn. And the first one was published in Chiron Review, which is a great magazine in the States. It's called Cabbage White. Cabbage whites. On the deck, autumn sun warms my face. A single butterfly hovers above the kale. All summer, a pale winged cloud drifted through the garden. Cabbage whites twirled around each other, flirted, then mated in a frenzy. Their offspring ravaged the kale, left a flimsy forest of stems. Now the single one lands on a leaf that just curled open. Frantic antennae tap the small surface for a place to lay her eggs. They will hatch at the first of spring, become that pale winged cloud once again. And the next poem I wrote for here on the Sunshine Coast, we do an annual art and word festival where artists and writers work together. And the artist I worked with was Greta Gusek, and she made a painting that you see in the background. And that was in response to, I actually wrote, what happened is I wrote a poem in response to her work, and then she made a painting in response to my poem. It's called It Starts with Yellow. It starts with the color of poplars in autumn. Leaves crack under her boots. Their scent breaks her open, like the lemons that ripened in her childhood yard. How she dug her fingers into the pulp, parted the fruit. Smell of citrus mixed with chlorine as her toe tapped the cool blue pool, sent circles to its edges, like Morse signals to the ancient forest beyond. The forest that now lives on her canvas, with its rustle of fur, dark calves, and flicker of butterflies. Their wings, like bliss, resist the heaviness of paint. How sweet the struggle to pin the flitting light. Ochre spots on the bent branch of an arbutus. Cadmium flecks on that grove of poplars. Their scent transported her, like the fragrance of her garden roses. Their savage hearts give her a second of heaven, a small death. And then I'm going to end with a micro poem that got published in Sunspot Literary Journal, also in the States. It's called Some Days I Can Taste. Some days I can taste the sweet cotton candy of the one white cloud, floating all on its own, not minding the lightning popping and crackling, the storm moving in on me. Thank you.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Thank you, Atma. Beautiful poems. So evocative. And I love the ekphrastic one of, doing the painting. That was really sweet too. So thank you for joining us. Please come again and bring some more. I think we need to have you as a feature. I think we're overdue. So I'm going to get Karl to get in touch with you.
Thank you. That would be lovely.
Yeah, there's a lot of applause here backing that up. I think we're going to have to do it. Okay. Can you put connection in the chat maybe that Karl can reach out to you at email or something?
I do have your email, so I will email you.
He's got it. Okay. All right. He'll get in touch. I'm not sure how far ahead we're booked, but we'll get you in. Okay. Thank you so much. All right. We're coming back. Where are we here? Oh, we're back in house, and Dean Lamont is going to share, I think, a little music and some lyrics with us. Perfect timing. Yes. And he's got the harmonica with him as well. Okay, sure. We'll do that. No problem. We'll swap the order a little bit, and Victoria is going to come up and read some of her work while Dean gets the guitar tuned up and ready to go. Awesome. Good evening, Victoria.
Here I am.
There you are. How are you doing?
Well, good to see everybody again tonight. Wonderful readings and wonderful words. I had something I'd been really working on. I decided to do this about a couple of weeks ago, but as we all know, our computers never are very reliable at times when we really need them. So my whole day today was wasted. I finished it yesterday mostly, and my computer decided not to allow me to go into anything, and then it wouldn't print. So I've got one I did write recently, which was the same just before I wrote the other one. So anyway, I've gone on long enough about why I'm not reading what I was going to read. So I'm just going to read these, which were written a little time ago. The Wild Pacific Trail. The trail was tame. It was the Pacific that was wild. Power from the depths pushed up giant furrows of raging sea, breaking open onto rocky black teeth. The waves sprayed white tassels into the air, like spirited white horses running wild and tossing their manes. To a sound like thundering hooves, onlookers kept their distance, lest they be trampled by the ocean's force. The first one. And this is for this particular time of the year, summer's ending. Sounds of imagined silence. Dogs barking, birds singing, boat racing, engine groans like a cat's purr. Crickets sounding like a squeaky mill wheel, spinning to make time. Bright setting sun settles on bare branches like crystalline snow in winter. Wild blue asters poke through the stones, ragged petals dancing in the soft breeze. The cloud silver lining squishes out from darkened pillows like cream from a chocolate eclair. Lake, you comfort me with ripples lapping the shore. Does the flow of my blood sense security responding to your movement, recalling a safer time of the cradling womb? Don't leave, son. Everything changes when you do. Color drains like a black and white photo. Warmth disappears like doused embers. Summer is fading away. And this time of the year used to be the most difficult for me, but in recent years I've got a little better. This is Wrestling Spirit. September, with October approaching, causes my spirit to struggle with this particular season, autumn. As the sun loses strength and distances itself to give its warmth to faraway places, it leaves a cool that chills me and causes me to coil up inside of myself. I feel like the fading foliage and summer harvest as they struggle to retain their vibrancy. On a day blessed with lingering warmth, I try to stay in the moment. But the sun makes a rapid descent. The warmth is quickly snatched away and comfort slips through my fingers like water. Then my spirit is flooded with melancholy, the result of difficult circumstances experienced at this time in past years. I feel as if I am folding up like a leaf on a tree, afraid to fall, unable to rise up. It is always a wrestling match, yet each year I force myself to embrace the present, to enjoy the change in the days, the joy of gathering and preserving the harvest, picking apples, plums and pears, gleaned from the abandoned trees I have adopted as my own. I snuggle my garden down for winter, appreciate a rainy day to tackle inside work, neglected due to my love of being outdoors when days are long. I draw joy from wrapping myself up in warm clothes that had been resting in the closet, a bonfire with friends at the beach when everything cooked on the fire tastes amazingly wonderful, even a can of beans and burnt toast. There are so many delights of this season that soon lift my spirit and have me dancing to a different tune. The electrifying color of the changing leaves and the stunning orange of the pumpkin patch. It won't be long before I will be singing out to welcome the hoarfrost on the trees, and with luck, in this warming climate, snow. And my last one is the one I just wrote recently. Because all of us must have had the same feeling, perhaps. I don't know. It's called Welcome Rain. Welcome rain. Rain, we have almost forgotten how you feel, but we know we miss you. We welcome your arrival today and your amazing effect. Air refreshed after so many rainless days awakens life. Fresh, earthy scents rise from the forest floor. Countless varieties of moss along trails perk up, showing great relief. Trees stand taller and greener as you end their thirst, encouraging them to soldier on towards the next season. Autumn, the trees' opportunity to take off their uniform, retreat and rest till spring. Welcome, rain.
Thank you, Victoria. Yeah, you capture what we're all feeling these days. That shift of the seasons, it just brings up so much resistance and surrender and welcome all at once. Yes. And Dean Lamont is all ready to go now. He's up at the mic, and we're gonna just adjust a little bit there.
There we go. That's good.
Yes.
Yeah, so I always wanted to write a hurtin' song, you know, like a country song. A hurtin' song, you know, I love you, but I'm so blue, you won't be true, whatever. Anyway, one day one of my sisters, she was going through this dysfunctional relationship, and
closer to the mic there, Dean.
Yeah. And I said to her, well, why don't you just stay away? And she said, I'm drawn like a moth to a flame. So I always liked that phrase. Anyway, it's not about anybody in particular, but well, I'm drawn like a moth to your flame. And I swore I'd never come back here again. But here I am, poor fool, stuck in your arms again, drawn like a moth to your flame. Well, I know that I should go and find somebody new, and I know you'll only make me blue. But the ending's always the same. To you, it's only a game, and I'm drawn like a moth to your flame. Well, I've tried and I've tried to keep you satisfied, but you think I'm not good enough for you. Well, I hope someday you'll see me when you're standing all alone. Maybe you weren't good enough for me. Well, I'm drawn like a moth to your flame. And I swore I'd never come back here again. But here I am, poor fool, back in your arms again, drawn like a moth to your flame. Yes, I'm drawn like a moth to your flame. And I swore I'd never come back here again. But here I am, poor fool, back in your arms again. Yes, I'm drawn like a moth to your flame. Well, I tried and I tried to keep you satisfied, but you think that I'm not good enough for you. Well, I hope someday you'll see when you're standing all alone. Maybe you weren't good enough for me.
All right, all right. We were all hurting with you there, Dean. That was good, man. Good hurting. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. Okay, we're going back out to Zoomland and heading all the way over to Ontario, where Jennifer Nguyen has been waiting patiently to share some more poetry with us. Good evening, Jennifer. How are you?
Not too bad. How are you?
I'm doing well. Always good to see you, and I can't wait to hear what you're going to read. Are you reading from your book tonight?
Yep.
Awesome. Here through the silence.
One of there's a couple of extended pieces. One of them is Bernardo Boy. I've read a couple of things about it in the past. It's my paternal grandfather was a home child, Bernardo Boy, and I'm going to, and the poem intertwines his story and his family story with my search for it. This is section 6, which picks up just after he was adopted at birth, and the narrative carries on from there. I had to do something a little bit different in this section than I typically do in poetry, but I think it worked, and you'll see what I mean. Water proving thicker than blood, forever sundered from birth parents, a little Odysseus with flavorings of David Copperfield and Oliver Twist sets out scenes from the voyage. New mum, Susanna, daughter of a fisherman who crewed a vessel that vanished at sea. Susanna always there, bringing along all those aunts and uncles and cousins. The little adopted one renamed Freddie Hansen after new dad, an immigrant from the wild Faroe Islands, likewise living off the sea. A happy time in Grimsby, but look again at the picture. Age 3, the pensive expression, eyes searching for an incoming storm. You're not yet 4. This will be hard, but Dad's not coming home. He's sleeping deep in the sea. I guess you won't remember him much. We'll manage somehow. It's been 2 years, and now I have something to tell you. You remember Uncle George Boyce? He's your new dad, so we're going to start calling you Freddie Boyce. He was a fisherman too, but he's become a soldier. And your big cousin Edie is now your sister. Come closer. I am not well, and soon will be gone. Consumption is taking me. Your dad, George, is still at war. Edie's married now, but she and the rest of the family don't have money to feed an extra mouth. So I've arranged for you to be looked after by an orphanage called Dr. Bernardo's Homes. They're a good Christian organization, the biggest and one of the oldest in the country. You're nearly 9 now. I know you will be a brave boy. Welcome to Dr. Bernardo's Homes. We are truly, sincerely sorry about your mom, Susanna. She fought the tuberculosis as long as she could. I can see you're scared, but we are your family now. Come, we would like to take a picture for our records. You look really handsome in your sweater and bow tie. By the way, We have to call you by your birth name, Harold Wen. You've been at our Clapham home in London, our musical center, nearly 2 years now, and you are getting too old to be here. We wanted to send you to Canada, but your stepsister Edie hopes she can take you in someday. So now we are going to send you to a nice foster home near Birmingham. Well, you weren't long up north. We have brought you from Birmingham here to our Boys Garden City because we are concerned about your health. You may have even contracted TB as well, so we are soon passing you on to Tamor House on Jersey Island. Nothing like bracing sea breezes. Hoy, mate, welcome to Jersey. Lovely place this, but don't be fooled. You've been around, know the drill. We're numbers more than boys. Like every other place, it's a bloody military camp. Up early, lots of clean and tidy, school naturally, and of course, you know how they love to bark the Bible at you. But watch out, they can be absolute beasts out here, beat one of us to death for stealing a tomato. But if you keep your head down, you'll be okay. Might get a little farm training. We got us a private beach to swim in Gravel Bay, and the air is the cleanest anywhere. Welcome back to the Boys Garden City on this February day in 1921. You seem to have thrived out there, and your stepsister has stepped back, so we have good news. You sail for Canada on March 17th. You won't be truly alone. Over 100 other boys and girls, and Mr. Hobday himself, our representative in Canada, are sailing too. You'll be placed on a farm, and I know you will do all you can to give them satisfaction. Here is a New Testament with lots of marked off inspirational passages and a nice metal trunk to pack your things in. Bon voyage. This is the SS Scandinavian, an old ship, but a good one. Harold, I see you have a large dent in your trunk lid. Jumped on it trying to close it. I understand. Your daily routine here will begin with rising at 6 a.m. to go through the wash house, then line up again for breakfast. The dining hall, you'll find, is appointed with long wooden tables and benches. In 10 days, we dock at St. John, New Brunswick. You'll be up at 5 a.m. that day to march on deck and claim your trunk, following which you will disembark for a medical inspection before heading to Toronto. I hope the rail journey was all right. It's a long one, more than a day and a half. It's now past midnight, and we will go straight to our headquarters. Your guardians will be Mr. and Mrs. Wardell, farmers near Otterville in southwestern Ontario. In 5 days, we will send your trunk to the nearest railway station. You will follow the next day. I am sure you will do all you can so that they will be proud to have you in their home. I want you to go to church and Sunday school regularly, and so live as to maintain the good name of Dr. Bernardo's homes and honor our living Heavenly Father. Hello, Harold. I am Mr. Wardell. We were expecting an 18-year-old, which you, just a boy, clearly are not. You are staying with us over the weekend, and we will return you on Monday. In the meantime, the moment we get to the farm, I will have you plow a field with my team of 3 horses. Never done that? You'll learn quick enough. Good news, we have decided to keep you after all. And thus, 2 new fathers, while still young, and then in a scant 2.5 years, from a loving home in an English port to being ostensibly orphaned and an indentured 11-year-old servant on a Canadian farm. Thank you.
Wow. Wow. Powerful, powerful storytelling. And I'm taking a lot of research went into that one.
Yeah, I did. The research was long before I started writing poetry. And I produced a family history book, and the research for the whole story, including ancestors and in Canada and everything, it's spread out over 40 years.
Wow.
For various reasons. And then after I started writing poetry, one of the things I got thinking of doing was a poem based on that. So I had all the research done.
Wow.
I just had to poeticize it.
Beautiful. What a beautiful poetic legacy to leave to your family too, that can go on so they know.
Thank you.
Yeah, beautiful. Thank you, man. All right, we shall move on to right in house here. We have visiting from Gibson's Landing. Kathleen Vance is going to share some prose with us. Hello, Kathleen. And I'll just mention while she's coming up to the podium that, in honor of your visit, we're all going to stay after and have a glass of wine with you. So don't run off.
Oh yeah, I'm alive.
There we go.
Closer to the mic with the telephone
There we
operators.
go.
Too close? All right. But that day was far off and the night shift was long. Calls after the middle of the night were even fewer and farther between, and only the one supervisor sat at the desk behind them, and even she looked whacked. "Honeybees," Dora heard Amy say instead of "number, please," as she picked up the call. The joke must have been catching because the next call was answered by Emily with "catch the fleas." Dora pressed her hand hard against her mouth to stop herself from laughing. Everyone knew about the operator who had been forced to work 10 hours without pay because of just one giggle. Elaine's right, Dora thought, remembering that operator's speech in the parlor earlier. We've got to stand up for ourselves. We need higher wages, at least 3 sick days a month with pay and 1 Saturday off a month. And the trainees, they need to be paid. Sally told me she was a trainee for 9 months before she even saw 1 red cent. But it was Mabel's list of her personal expenses that had upset Dora the most. $5 for room and board, 50 cents car fare, 50 cents laundry, and $1.50 for clothing. Added up. Do I get paid enough for all that? If I walked to work, I'd fall asleep at the switchboard, and I can't work naked. The other women laughed at the thought of Mabel, the naked operator. That would only make her constant coughing worse. Dora imagined her school slate in her mind and tried to add up all the numbers, but she could just feel the whack of the teacher's ruler across her knuckles as she got caught doing her sums wrong again. All those contests like Operator of the Month and who places the highest number of calls don't do us any good, Sally had said as she pointed to the latest winner's name posted on the parlor wall. I mean, we don't get any more money for winning, do we? It's the company that gets more money when we place more calls and are more efficient. And don't even talk to me about those holiday camps and company picnics they offered us. Yeah, everybody stopped going. I mean, the company wouldn't let us bring our gentlemen friends. I wasn't going to a picnic without my Ned, Abigail had exclaimed. They offer us anything but what we want, Emily chimed in. Dora couldn't stop thinking about how right Elaine was, how right they all were. Ah! Dora suddenly screamed. All the women froze at their boards. The supervisor leapt to her feet. Dora, you know your behavior is grounds for immediate dismissal, the supervisor told her as she reached on her desk for the ill-fated slip that every operator dreaded getting and beckoned Dora to come towards her. It's so unfair, Dora could only say to herself over and over as she approached the supervisor's desk. I should have been screaming out of anger at what I was just thinking about. But oh no, it wasn't what Elaine and the others had been saying in the parlor that made me scream. It was the electric shock I just got through my switchboard. I hate it when the board does that. One time, just because a farmer outside of town was blasting a tree stump, the shock traveled along the electrical line and caused a fire at the switchboard, which burned a hole in my sleeve. The job is not safe. Does anyone care about us? As these thoughts raced through her head, Dora made her face as expressionless as possible, but she was unable to prevent her hands from forming into fists. That's when the second shock of the night occurred. Dora heard the whispering all down the line of women at the switchboard. I rang up Central and I didn't get an answer. It was the code. When the message reached the last woman, they all stood up and turned to the supervisor. Dora stood aside as Elaine stepped forward to speak to the supervisor. We're going out. Are you with us or not? No one spoke. Mabel didn't even cough. The supervisor looked down at the slip that she had barely begun to fill out. She looked at Dora and then at all the other women lined up before her. She looked behind her, but there was no one there. She was alone, and the other women were together. The supervisor sighed. The other women held their breath. Dora dared not move. I'm with you, the supervisor said, and all the women quietly walked out of the room and down the stairs together. The supervisor locked the doors to the building and threw the keys into the transom window as they left.
Hooray!
Thank you. Thank you, Kathleen. Solidarity forever. Yes, absolutely. Yes, power to the workers. All right, and David has come along. David Kipling as well from Gibson's is going to share some prose with us, I believe. He's sorting the pages and getting his glasses on. And
one Jennifer, when I think about Dr. Bernardo's, Dr. Bernardo's, it's interesting. They got a photograph, a last negative photograph, most of the children that were taken in at London. And the archive still exists. And some of those stories, stories that it's better than dying, Someone starving is better than dying. And there is a horror story attached to Bernardo. Anyway, I wrote this in 2017, not this year. I say that because you may think, this is 2017, and somebody gave me a piece of paper that said, write something based on it. I turned it over, the words were, if only. A few grains of rock dust slipped a millimeter down the quartz pebble. The Dr. Robert Oppenheimer stepped from the jeep and held a fan of documents against the desert sun outside Alamogordo. His sharp eye caught the tiny movement below in the gravel, while his teeming mind was playing with the name Alamogordo. He knew that Gordo was Spanish and fat. Alamo, not the fort. Alamo was a poplar tree.
come a little closer to the mic there, David.
Keep thinking, played up some break randomly with the arguments of trivia, his guardian name for this over his right shoulder. If only. Oppenheimer's army driver, the fortune of the ordnance for the motorboat, waited with army patience.
They're having trouble hearing you out in Zoom land there, David.
Okay.
Gotta get a little closer there.
Okay.
Sure. Okay.
Grains of rock millimeter down a quartz pebble as Dr. Robert Oppenheimer stepped from. documents against the desert sun outside Alamogordo. His sharp eye caught the tiny movement below in the gravel, while his teeming mind was playing with the name Alamogordo. He knew that gordo in Spanish meant fat. Alamo, not the fort. Alamo was a poplar tree, so fat poplar tree. Not many trees in the New Mexico desert, and not much moisture for them to get fat on anyway. Keep thinking. Play ducks and drakes randomly with oddments and trivia, his guardian angel hissed over his right shoulder. If only. Oppenheimer's army driver, a corporal from the Ordnance Corps motor pool, waited with army patience for instruction, playing with the loose knob on the Jeep's gear lever, which shook in counterpoint to the uneven lope of the old engine. Corporal Mike Lorenzo let the rhythm take him back to Mimi's last post bar and grill outside Holloman Air Force Base. Saturday night, his buddies had been arguing over the jitterbug, who danced it best, watching the couples on the floor, Glenn Miller's In the Mood on the jukebox. Then Willie Boy put his dime in and chose a guitar-picking southerner, Blind Boy Fuller, and Willie said this was the jitterbug rag, the real McCoy, and some dancers quit, and a couple of farmers muttered something to Willie Boy, and all hell broke loose. Point is, thought Corporal Lorenzo, while half of his mind wondered why that scientist guy was just standing there like a desert mule, point is, Mike Lorenzo knew jitterbug, had learned it over in San Diego from his girlfriend. She had danced in contests and won trophies, for God's sake. She even taught dance weekends in a club by the Navy Yards. Not that Mike Lorenzo gave a flying fig for the Navy, but the fleet knew how to lay on R&R for its people in shore time, keep the crews happy, drunk or dancing, as long as they're within a quarter mile of the docks, in case some homesick recruit takes off up the coast highway and then it's hell to pay for everyone, or worse, when the ship's sirens let loose. So Martina, his girlfriend, she could jitterbug, and they danced it in the clubs together last fall, before the Ordnance Corps technical unit got their asses booted over to this flat wasteland for some hush-hush tests. And Lorenzo's gunnery sergeant, who hated eye ties like Lorenzo, who was a second-generation plumber from Cleveland and Spanish. That's how much gunnery sergeants know. Gunnery Sergeant Stuyvesant hated eye ties and assigned Mike as a driver for these scientists because they were all Jews to Gunnery Sergeant Stuyvesant, or they would be Jews, right? Most of Mike's unit were billeted back at Tularosa, probably sacked out under the shade of a stunted cottonwood right now, playing poker, and here is Lorenzo frying his crew-cut brains on this New Mexico grill pan. Bev Tomac shifted uncomfortably in the stiff drill shirt and drill pants the military had issued all visitors for this baking desert. Skirt? No skirts here, sister, pouted a quartermaster sergeant, mimicking an A-lane skirt at her hips. You lady reporters think this is a coffee clutch? Beth had thought for a moment of telling her the difference between a frigging reporter and a college-trained journalist from a Washington goddamn weekly. She could have been covering the hot election news from the British Embassy in Washington, D.C., or that public health vaccination campaign in Southside Chicago. Jesus, there was even a General Motors new car launch up in Detroit, and the industry's wine and dine tradition for the press was second to none. But no, that woman-hating Kowalski, the editor's henchman, just one day later, and Kowalski would have been off on leave. But no, her news chief, Hal Silberstein, was held up with a congressman back in Montana, so sweet Hal wouldn't be back at his Washington Post desk before the weekend. So woman-hating Kowalski, gum-chewing, loose fly buttons Kowalski had assigned Bev Tomac to some atom-fucking bomb test, whatever an atom bomb was. She'd happily stuff one down those too tight chinos Kowalski wore in summer, let him test it. So the sun strained for its painful zenith, and the tiny grains of silica glittered and shifted again beside Oppenheimer's Oxford brogue, and Dr. Oppenheimer fiddled with a mole at his sunburned neck. Then Mike Lorenzo retreated again to the memories of Last Post Bar and Grill, and Bev eased her belt and pants again, and the Jeep's engine chug-a-lugged, and a shred of silver foil from a candy bar blinked, and the blink tore apart the sky and the earth and the crackling atmosphere, and the sun went black, and Oppenheimer's lightning brain hunted, flickering down among its chest of words, and found the Bhagavad Gita whispering to him alone, I am Vishnu, I am become death, the destroyer of worlds. What? Wow.
Awesome, David. Thank you. Thank you. And yeah, you had the same inspiration, I guess, after reading the book as the screenwriters did for making the film. Beautiful. Wow. That was powerful, powerful torrent. All right. We're at the end of the evening here. I've got a couple of poems I'm going to read and then we'll call it a night, but I'm going to read them from here because my printer would not start and I have it on my laptop and I'm not quite sure about dragging my laptop up there with the camera on it and getting into trouble. So I'll just stay right here and read a couple of poems. The first one's called Advice to the Grieving. If the weight of your grief drives you to the mountains, let the wind from the canyons dry your face and the valleys swallow your sorrow. Today you curl up gutted, swept clean as an avalanche chute. Tomorrow the sun will cut you open as it crests the ridge, and the scree slopes will call you to walk forward, even though every foot falls on uncertain ground. Know that the mountain is under you, that the alpine fir bow their heads to be near you, that the heather and valeria blush pink for your eyes alone. Let their beauty be your healing. Let your healing be their cause to bloom again. Renewal permeates nature like a fragrance. In the face of winter, the earth responds with spring, and you are part of that. Every breath, bringing air to new cells. Forget the dead hair that finds its way to the shower drain. Behold the hair on your head, how it shines in the sun, how it wraps itself around your fingers as if desperate to hold your hand. Thank you. Thank you. And one more. And this one, I've got to give a nod to E. Cummings. I fell in love with E. Cummings' poetry when I was in university years ago. And I just loved his playfulness with language and what he would do with it. It was just so inventive. So this is bad E. Cummings, but anyway, it's called Oh She Glow, which I found out later is actually the title of a vegan cookbook. But anyway. Oh, she glow, her hair be sun, her moon be eyes, and when she touch me, oh, the tides, the harbor fills, the boats want launching, the crimson wounds line up for staunching. Oh, she glows, the wind makes moan, and deer bed down where owls croon. Her skin be stars, her eyes be moons, her fingers keys to endless rooms, and when I bow to kiss her face, we rise through realms of inner space, where dawn and sunsets intertwine. Beyond that place of me and mine, we curl within a world divine, where she no glow, instead we shine. All right. Okay, let's get back to the Zoom. There we are. Thank you so much, everybody, and thank you all for coming and being part of this evening tonight. I have to say, I think we did do better even than last month. It was really some outstanding work shared here tonight, and I have so many wonderful words still running around my head from what I heard shared here. So thank you all for coming, and we better give a big round of applause to Char for hosting us again, and a big round of applause for Karl for moderating us. Thank you, Karl. And of course, a big round for our featured reader, and for our spotlight reader, Ian, and where did our Daniela? There you are. You're still with us. Good, Daniela. Thank you so much. That was wonderful. And I do hope you'll come and join us again and share some more work in the future. And thank you to all the open micers who got up there and shared their work, and the Zoom folks as well. And thank you to Shauna for looking after Sheila's job here in Char's Land, because Sheila's away. Yes. Sheila, who normally keeps us fed and watered here, is away frolicking with the tortoises in the Galapagos. So Shauna kindly didn't read tonight and instead stepped in to serve things up. So we're really grateful, and hopefully people are going to be able to hang around here at Char's, and we'll have a chance to have a glass of wine and chat. And we'll look forward to seeing everybody next month, last Wednesday of the month. Same time, same channel, same Zoom link. And in the meantime, everybody stay safe, keep writing, and enjoy the fall. Take good care.
And thank you to Derek.
Oh, thank you.
Our next month's feature reader is Bruce Hornage.
Oh, Bruce Hornage.
Hornage is going to be the feature reader for next month.
Thank you. See, Karl keeps us on track. Yes, Bruce Hornage, who's a local Port Alberni writer, whose book Loggerheads is coming out next month. And he's a very engaging writer who comes from the inner perspective of what it was like to be a logger through the environmental testing that happened back in the 80s and 90s on Vancouver Island. So some good stuff. Take care, everyone, and we'll look forward to seeing you next month. Bye-bye.